Okay, Azuka, welcome. Nice to meet you. Please, where we are joining from, where your location is and what you do currently. That will give us great insights as to how to tailor our examples as we proceed. Bolanle Obadasa, a legal practitioner by profession, currently studying in the UK. Nice to meet you, Bolanle. I'm El Nathan from Manchester. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Nice to meet you, El Nathan. Azuka, I'm a lawyer based in London, studying in the UK. Welcome to the session, Azuka. Welcome, nice to have you here, Bolanle. Nice to have each and every one of you. Okay, so let's keep the introduction coming. Let's keep it coming, guys. My name is Monsurat. I'm a student. I'm joining from Dundee. Welcome and nice to meet you, Monsurat. Ilma from Glasgow. Dare Wilson, trained auditor back home in Nigeria with RSA Insurance as a customer service advisor, reside in Wales. Welcome, Dare Wilson. Nice to meet you. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Right. Like I said, let's share the meeting link with our friends, our families, our groups. Let's just drop the meeting link, on our groups. Right. So before we get started, what does compliance mean to you? What does compliance mean, to you in your own words or in your own, what does compliance mean to you? We're going to use the chat box a lot, so what does compliance mean to you based on the industry you work in or whatever? What does compliance, mean to you? I'm sure it means different things to different people. Okay, so I'm going to go to the chat box now to see the wonderful responses I've gotten. All right, Adedokun, that's Dari, right? Dari says, adherence to rules and regulations guiding practices. I love that. I love that. Coming from an auditor, right? Emeka says compliance means abiding by laid down rules and regulations and laws. I love that as well. Azuka says doing what you are required by laws and regulations to do in simple terms. It can't be simpler than that. Bolanle says complying with laid down rules, processes, and procedures. I love that as well. Aluko says compliance refers to adhering to laws, regulations, and industry standards set by regulatory bodies. Fantastic. Adhering to laid down rules and regulations. Thank you. I love this. I love the energy so far. All right, so who is RKY Careers? I've introduced myself. I'm Rukayat. I'm Ruki. I'm the CEO and founder of RKY Careers. Who is RKY Careers? RKY Careers is a UK-based tech company, that is passionate and has been successful, or that also, that empowers international students and professionals in their quest to succeed in the UK, competitive job market, as well as the global job market as well, not limited to the UK, right? To provide comprehensive support and guidance through our services to those that are seeking, right, either new jobs, transitioning to a new career path, or seeking promotion or elevation in their current career path as well. How do we do this? We do this through our services and our trainings. We've got trainings in compliance, just like, compliance KYC that you are here for today. We've got data analysis, project management, business analysis, Scrum Master and product owner, Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint as well. We also offer standalone services for those that already have experience in their desired roles, in CV optimization, LinkedIn optimization, career advisory. We have interview preparation services, professional portfolio services, and many more. So, what is compliance? I don't think we even need to say this because you guys are fantastic people. You guys already know what compliance is all about, right? The compliance is a concept that applies across industries, right? Because most industries, right, have rules and regulations that guide them. And compliance is all about ensuring that these rules and regulations are adhered to, are followed, because there's a reason why these regulations are there in the first place. It's either to protect customers, the community, the governments, the regulations are there for a reason, either to protect customers or users, right, or to protect shareholders, stakeholders in any particular given organization. Right. So for this protection to be effective, there has to be compliance. Right. There has to be compliance. So what does compliance entails, right? Because we already said that, it's across industries. For instance, in the financial industry, right, we would be familiar with the KYC. KYC is to protect to know your customer so that you can be sure that you're dealing with the right persons. Or KYB, in the case of maybe business to business, right? You know the business that you are having another financial relationship or commercial relationship with, just to protect yourself from dealing with the wrong person, so you can be sure that you're dealing with the right person. You are dealing with people, like if I've said my name is Rukaya Tarabi today now, how do you verify that it's not somebody else just saying I'm Rukaya Tarabi? You want to be sure that you are dealing with the right person. That's whoever it is I'm claiming to be. That's like KYC, really. Anti-money laundering as well. Anti-money laundering is to protect money laundering. Who does money laundering hurt? It's money laundering can be used to finance terrorism. Money laundering can be, of course, if you pay taxes, you pay whatever, and your taxes, your ad-end money, rights are now embezzled, and launder. And for them to embezzle, they need to launder it. Laundering means they need to clean it up, make it look like it's actually a money that was sourced through legal means. Right. Who are the people that launder money? Armed robbers, people that do illegal things, really. They need to clean up the money so that it will look like it's coming through. And if the process of laundering money is so easy, what would that mean? That would also encourage repeats occurrences. If it's so easy to claim money, then there will be more embezzlement of money, right? There will be more embezzlement of money. There will be more fraud. There will be more. And who does that hurt in the end? At the end of the day, it still goes back to us, the society, the community, right? And of course, if there's terrorism, the impact of that can't even be limited, to any certain jurisdiction. We also have GDPR. GDPR, data protection, is to protect ourselves, yourselves, depending on the role you are playing. GDPR is data protection. This also another level or form of policy that has been put in place to protect people, and there now has to be compliance to this, right? That's why we need to have data protection officers, data privacy officers, data privacy analysts, and many more. Right. So as you can see, even in other industries, talk about the health and care industries, there are policies that have been put in place to protect the vulnerable people that we have, working in these industries. Vulnerable people that are actually clients, right, in these industries. If these policies are not adhered to, who would suffer? The vulnerable people will suffer. So even in the health and care industry as well, we have a high level of compliance, and that's why we have regulatory bodies. We've got the councils, we've got CQC, we've got and many more, right? So be sure that you guys are following me. Based on the industry you currently work, who have you identified as your regulatory body that is, either defining what rules that need to be, that needs to govern your services, govern your activities, or protect your customers and clients? So I'll be going back to the chat box again to see the interesting responses I get to this. So who have you identified, right, as the regulatory body guide? It could be more than one, because a lot of industries have more than one. So yeah, I would just mention the regulatory bodies, that govern or regulate your industry. All right. Some of them you don't need to mention the industry. Once you mention it, I know the industry. So I see CQC here. Firstly, CQC is the health and care industry, right? I see FCA. FCA is definitely, the financial services industry. I've seen SRA. Please, for those of us that don't really know what's SRA and what industry does that cover, I have ISO. ISO, set standard for a wide range of industries as well, right? Fantastic. I see another FCA. no regulator for hospitality. I don't want to believe that. I'm sure there would be. I'm sure there will be a regulator, that there will be a regulatory body. Of course, so depending on the risk. The risk level the risk level is what will also determine how highly regulated the industry is. What would happen? Are there vulnerable people in the hospitality industry? Who are we protecting? So you'll be surprised that, okay, maybe for some it could be even staff, right? Staff have unions so that protect their interests as well. Whatever it is these unions are put in place, there will be people that ensure that this is complied with as well, right? Solicitor Regulation Authority. Thank you. Okay, that's SRA. Okay, fine. That's probably Nigeria, right? Or yeah, FOS, Financial Ombudsman Services. Fantastic. Oh, UK, fantastic. So thank you for that. So I want to believe that, we are all, finding this interesting and also following as well. Right. So for people that want to, I'm sure that as you are here, right, you are not here as a regulator, you are here as professionals who want to consider a career path in compliance. Right. So what are the essentials we need to transition or to hold compliance related roles? To hold compliance related. So the first one is, industry knowledge. Whatever industry it is you are going to as a compliance person, you need to have industry knowledge of what is obtainable, in that industry. So if you are going into the finance space as well, you need to have regulatory knowledge within. If you are going to the finance space, you need to actually have a very good understanding of the finance. Who are the regulators? What do they look out for? What are the key things? So a deep understanding of the relevant laws that guide the industry you want to go to is important. Regulatory framework as well. You need to familiarize yourself with the specific regulatory bodies and agencies relevant to your field. In the UK and in the financial space, this might be FCA, which some people have mentioned. We also have the ICO, that's for data protection and all that. That's Information Commissioner's Office, right? CQC for health and care, SRA for some of you that have also mentioned. So I like the fact that some of you have already provided, these regulatory bodies. You need to also, training and education. You need to seek knowledge. Right? Take the necessary training, join the necessary bootcamp to gain practical knowledge and experience in this field. Data protection and privacy measures. You need to also, be up to date regardless of your industry. Everybody is bound by GDPR, so we need to actually have very good knowledge of GDPR. Compliance as well, right? Financial institutions must have robust AML and CTF measures to prevent money laundering. Right. So what are some skills that you are expected to have as a compliance professional? You need to be good at assessing risk. Even in your day-to-day life, one way or the other, unconsciously or consciously, you assess risks of things. Before you put your hand in a water you see lying on a cup, right? You must have actually assessed the risk. Is it hot or cold? That's a subconscious one. But if you see a very hot kettle beside the water, you are more likely not to put your hand inside that water. Why? Because you've assessed the risk as being high, because you can see an obvious reason why that water could be a very hot water. And that's just simple risk assessment, really. And that applies as well, on the field as well. When you are dealing with the clients, have you seen anything that might, or are there laid down rules that have said anybody that comes from this country is already high risk? That's already one. But if they can tick this box, then they can fall a medium. If they can't tick this box, then it means that they remain high risk. If they are high risk, these are the things you need to collect from someone that is high risk. These are the things you don't need to collect from someone. The same thing, if you look at even immigration, for instance, there are some countries that can travel to other countries, right, without visas, right? These are simple risk assessments based. They are risk-based decisions, really. Maybe people in those countries, if they travel, or from history, when they travel, they go back, because probably there's nothing attracting them to remain in that country. If that is what history has shown, they'll probably make it visa free for those countries. However, in some other countries, maybe when they travel, they don't go back. What does that mean? You probably first of all introduce a visa process that they need to apply for. And when you see that, you've also seen from history that maybe when this process as well, it needs to be really tight. You need to ask for ask for their mother's birth certificate and all that. That's basically based on risk assessments as well. I hope I'm trying to use as interesting examples as possible, right? Not in order not to keep it too distant, right? So documentation and record keeping as well, right? As a compliance professional, you need to keep your evidences, keep your evidences, documents your files appropriately. If you've collected any information, everything has to be documented, because even you as a compliance professional, you'll probably be auditing at some times as well, to ensure that record has been kept. Because if there are no records, I can say that, okay, I looked at you and I assessed you, right? When I assessed you, I ticked you off. But how will I explain to a third person that I actually assessed you and you ticked all the boxes? Is by keeping those records. And that is why, in across all areas, all industries, right, that are regulated, high documentation are important. If you go to a healthcare company now to do an audit, right, there are some things that need to be put in place. How did you administer medication? It has to be documented. How many times was it administered? Who told you what to administer? Everything has to be filed. You can't say somebody said is not applicable. It has to be documented. Approvals, if you maybe went during the KYC process of a particular client, you collected these documents, all those documents need to be found in the file. And that's why a lot of financial institutions, they get fined time and time and again, is as a result of things as simple as documentation. Because when they come for audits and they go through files and they find that, okay, there's no ID card in this client, or the ID card that is there is expired. This ID card that is there is expired. How do we know that the person is even still legally staying in that country? As compliance professionals, documentation is really important, because not only do you need to document, you also need to be able to check documentation others have done that would actually prove that they are compliance, in their compliance, in accordance to the rules and regulations that's been set in place. GDPR as well, you need to have good GDPR knowledge. Data protection, I think, is the same as GDPR. Continuous improvement. As a compliance professional, you need to stay on top of trends and recent events. Time and again, there are always new things out there. Just recently, even as compliance professionals, every time there are news out there about maybe a company being fined, a bank being fined, regulations change every day as well, based on new assessments. If something is if a situation is reassessed, there might be need for an update to probably the requirements, to measure the compliance, right? And when this is done, there'll be a new policy released, there'll be a new law or regulations released. You need to stay up to trends. You need to be someone that really loves to stay up to trends. You can't rely on information that you had in 2005 in 2024. You need to stay up on top of trends. Financial sanctions, analytical thinking. You need to think analytically, right, and make decisions based on analysis and all that. So KYC and AML is also very important. Industry knowledge as well. We're talking about career paths that you can explore. There are a wide range of career paths you can explore in compliance. We have the KYC analysis, we have compliance analysts. Compliance analyst roles are across different industries. The law firms, banks, insurance companies, even health and care industry, even the NHS. If you search for compliance, you see a lot of compliance roles in the NHS. Councils and boroughs. These are places our alumni have gotten jobs, that are related to compliance as well. Right. So risk management, risk manager, risk analyst, these are roles you can also explore after the bootcamp. Financial crime analyst, sanctions, AML, compliance analyst, AML investigator, data protection specialist, analyst. And you can see that, none of these roles, right, these are the average salary according to Reed. None of these roles, are paying, less than a certain amount. And this is to show that there's a career progression as well in this career. So even if your start role is not any of this, if you start with a 30K salary or a 35K salary, you know that that's not the peak of this career path, right? There's a lot of, you can start as a KYC analyst today, tomorrow you've changed to compliance analyst, next tomorrow you are head of compliance, and then maybe another year you are MLRO and all that as well. So there's a very good career prospects, right, in this industry. So why pursue a career in compliance? Entering the compliance field is actually a truly rewarding step to take. There's a high demand for compliance professionals for obvious reasons. Just like we've said, across our different industries, there's, a very great need for regulation, right? And this regulation requires individuals to measure compliance, to them as well, right? So because of this, compliance professionals are always required. There are lots of fintech companies coming out, payments companies coming out, banks, banks are, even traditional banks are starting their fintech, the fintech companies as well, or what would I call it now? Fintech angle, right? Right. So that means that there are always going to be need for more compliance professionals, more KYC professionals, right? So there's always going to be demand for these roles, and these roles cannot be left to, artificial intelligence or whatever to handle. Compliance is very strict and has to be handled, right, by individuals, of course, with support from technology as well. So career stability as well, there's a very good potential for stability in compliance. It's not a career path that is going extinct anytime soon, or that is being disrupted by anything really, right? It's a relatively stable industry and role regardless of the economy. Even during COVID, there was still need for compliance professionals, right? Because financial transactions need to still continue regardless, right? So there's diverse career opportunities across. I mentioned a couple of roles that you can explore. It's not even limited to that. We have a lot of people that have explored a wide range of roles, which I'll still go into later on. Global relevance across countries, compliance is, even when you are in Canada or in America or even in Nigeria, all you need to do is to just do a little bit of read up of what obtains in that particular country, or what body regulates them, and that's it really. The role is in demand across countries, and jurisdictions. Competitive compensation as well, professional growth, and global regulatory trends. So now, that takes me to introduce you to the RKY Compliance Bootcamp. But before I do that, I'm going to also, let's have another task. Right. So what area of compliance are you personally interested in exploring? What area of compliance are you interested in exploring? What would you like to be your next compliance role? I'll be looking at the chat box as well to see responses to that. I see FDA. What does FDA mean, Saka? I think you are still, you mentioned the regulatory body that guides your own industry, but I would like to know what FDA means. Is that defense or something? Finance, what's FDA? But while we're waiting for that, what role, in compliance are you looking to explore next? Hello, hope you guys can still hear me. AML compliance. Thank you, Bolanle. Benjamin, data protection officer. Thank you, data privacy officer. Thank you, Emeka, data protection and compliance analyst. Thank you for that. Right, I think it's only 3 people that are interested in the compliance career pathway. Others are just here to listen to my very cool voice. All right, so Dare says financial crime analyst. Fantastic. Amelia says data governance. Interesting. Ugo says the part that gives the most pounds, because I don't know anything about the role since the scale is flexible. I want to believe I heard you correct. I read that correctly because there was a missing word there, right? So anyone that gives the most, fantastic. Aluko says regulatory compliance, financial crime analyst. Fantastic. Monsurat compliance analyst. Great. I think I'll work with what I have. So fantastic. Good to know. Okay. El Nathan says financial crimes analyst. That's interesting as well. So that now takes me to introduce you to the RKY Careers Compliance Bootcamp. Right. So our boot camp is a 5 weeks boot camp that exposes you, to everything you need to know to transition to becoming a compliance professional, from AML compliance, is that Dari, right? To financial crime analyst, data protection analyst, right? AML analyst, KYC analyst, right? Everything you need to transition to this, including the practical experience as well. Right, so let's look at the bootcamp perks. Right, we've got our live training, so you're going to enjoy 5 weeks of live training. You're going to practice. You're going to have quizzes and competency tests as well to test your knowledge. You're going to enjoy interview preparation, practical case studies for work experience. Of course, you're going to get reference as well if you complete these case studies, which is the work experience phase, as you're going to work on cases like real life situation. You're going to get certificate of completion, right, which is accredited by the CPD in the UK and America, ACTD, American Council of Training in the USA as well. You're going to have access to learning management system for up to 12 months, even after the boot camp. In this LMS, we have, a truckload of resources that is going to help you land your job eventually, from interview prep to career support sessions and all that. You're going to get post bootcamp support. You're going to get CV and LinkedIn optimization. So you're going to get a done for you CV at the end that would get you interviews and eventually land your job. We're also going to optimize your LinkedIn so recruiters can also reach out to you for job opportunities that align with your profile. You're also going to get post bootcamp support, and this part is the best part, because of course, when we pay for boot camps, for some of us that have done boot camp somewhere, after the boot camp, it's almost likely that your money has expired and all that. But at RKY Careers, that is not the case. Even after the 5 weeks boot camp, right, you're still going to have opportunity to, access us through our bi-weekly interview prep sessions. How good is that? So we would have had interview prep session within the boot camp, right, to round off the bootcamp. You have scenarios, mock interviews and all that. Then you still have the opportunity to bring your job descriptions to another drop-in session that happens twice a month, where we can actually predict possible questions that can come out of your interviews. Right. So there's nothing like support, especially when transitioning to a new career path, because sometimes even after you've done all the interview prep, when you are just about to have that interview again, you still probably, want to have somebody that you can show your job description to, that can just even ascertain the fact that you have everything it takes to land this job. So at RKY Career, support is, what is most important to us, and that's what has landed us the success stories that you can see, on all our profiles. You see that we have a truckload of success stories time and time again. Right. So who can take this course? Early career beginners. If you've never worked before, you want to just start, you want to gain practical work experience to start working, it's for you. Foreign trained lawyers and ex-bankers. If you're a foreign trained lawyer, you're a solicitor from Nigeria, from Ghana, from any part of the world, but before you qualify here, or you don't even want to qualify here, you want to explore another career path, then this bootcamp is for you. Ex-bankers as well, because I believe that bankers, in one way or the other, they are exposed to a little bit of KYC and AML, so you can also consider this. So anyone at all, if you don't have any of this background, we've had people that have ended up also landing these roles. And because it's not limited to the law firms or banking industries, because a lot of people also get jobs in councils, in boroughs, in solicitors firms, law firms, and all that, property companies. Right. So there's nowhere you can't actually get compliance, so long as there's a regulator that guides that industry. Right. So what are the competencies you will gain in the bootcamp? Right. You will gain a comprehensive regulatory knowledge, of the UK environment. You gain knowledge of KYC, AML, financial crime and sanctions, data protection, and GDPR as well. What are the roles you can apply to after the bootcamp? AML analyst, compliance analyst, risk analyst, KYC analyst, compliance officer, data protection officer, regulatory affairs specialist, compliance risk manager, policy and procedure analyst, CDD analyst, EDD analyst, CDD specialist, client onboarding specialist, AML investigator, KYC QC analyst, business compliance analyst. So these are roles that people have actually gotten after the bootcamp, really. And it's not limited to this as well, because what forms our brand really is always what we have, what you are learning in the bootcamp, and what you already have. So that put together, what the experience you already have, that put together is what we form a strong brand for you, right? So what's the eligibility of this role for, visa sponsorship, right? Is one of the roles also listed, as you can see, on the eligible occupation codes, right? And yeah, that means that you can get sponsored in this role. Even just recently, I was reading about someone who came in as a compliance person and eventually got global talent as well, right? I think she founded something that supports startups as well, right? Support startups in their compliance, KYC and all that. So there's no limit to what you can use your skills for. And that takes me to an event that we'll be holding sometimes in June. I think it's somewhere on this slide, so I'll wait till then, because the purpose of our events, our Limitless Without Borders events happening in June in London, is to expose you to other ways you can actually leverage the skill sets you have to achieve, what you really want to achieve, right? So talking about success stories, here are a few success stories that we boast of, from this bootcamp. You can see from compliance analyst role to compliance monitoring analyst role to periodic review analyst. I think that's one of the to periodic review analyst role, remediation analyst, CDD and conflicts analyst, two compliance roles after the bootcamp: compliance assistants, compliance analyst, KYC analyst. This is just a few. If you go through our page yourself as well, you'll see lots of success stories as well. So these are also a list of roles that people have landed, which is similar to the ones I've mentioned earlier: compliance manager, KYC analyst, finance advisor. In fact, we have people that have also gotten cybersecurity analyst. And how did they get this as well? Because they have a previous background in cloud computing and all that, and they combine that with their compliance experience, to qualify for a cybersecurity related role. So it's all about how you can create a very strong, unique brand for yourself, but using your what you are learning in the bootcamp, or what you'll be learning at the bootcamp, and what you are already bringing with you. So for those that are banking professionals, those are the people that will probably end up in banks as KYC analysts, AML analysts. Those that are law firms, they will probably end up in law. Those that are lawyers from foreign trained lawyers, really, they will end up in law firms as well here, right? And so on and so forth, really. But the thing is, there are also companies that are looking for people that are really unique, that are bringing what they don't already have to the table as well. So what would you be taking to the table in the company you're going to work for next, right? So talking about the value of the bootcamp, right? Based on everything I've said, the support, CV optimization, LinkedIn optimization, certificate of completion, interview prep, work reference for the experience you gain in the bootcamp as well, and alumni community support. We also have monthly alumni sessions where we bring in different experts to come and educate us on what is new in the industry, right? And all this as well, you get for being a member of the bootcamp. So if you look at if you want to quantify all what you will get, right, this bootcamp should cost nothing less than £1,500. However, right, we are actually offering this bootcamp at a discounted amount of £599. And because we are just a week to the bootcamp, you can still pay in two installments. The first installment today to secure your slots, and then balance by end of May, right? So if you are still sitting on the fence and you've been waiting, I'm sure that you are more than convinced that there are high prospects in this career path, and you're going to also land your success stories by the end of the bootcamp as well. So secure your slots now. Admin, please paste the account details and the link for them to make payments to secure their slots for the to secure their slots. You can also pay in full. We don't have anything against you paying in full at once. And yeah, you can also pay in installments. If you are hearing about this for the first time and it's maybe too close, it's too close for you to make the decision to join this cohort, we also have another cohort starting in June, early July. So you can, if you are paying towards that, right, you can pay in 3 installments. So you can also secure your slots for the next cohort at just £199. That you'll be able to pay in 3 installments for. So 199, 200, 200. So ever this quote, because the earlier the better, really, or the next quote. And the best thing is that this period we are in the market is the peak period where a lot of companies are actually recruiting, right? Unlike what we saw in the early January, February, because first of all, the UK is in recession. A lot of companies are going lean. A lot of people, have been made redundant and all that. However, now, because we're in a new financial year started, so because a new financial year started, right, most companies now have new budgets for their new hires, which they'll be bringing on board. A lot of companies that made people redundant as well did that not because, they are closing down or something. Some of them have offered people way more than they were meant to offer them in the last couple of years, because that period employees, or candidates, right, had more options and alternatives. However, the market has changed now, and because company wants to balance up or adjust, they can't reduce people's salaries, right? So what they do is to make people that they are paying really high redundant and bring in people that will be happy to have whatever it is they want to offer for the role. So what that means is that there are more jobs out there. It's a new financial year, and a lot of people as well resign from their jobs after they've gotten bonus. Bonus are usually paid in March, March at the end of the financial year. So with April, May, June, all these periods are always, very peak periods for recruitments. So this is just a 5 weeks bootcamp before middle of June, right? We'll be done with this bootcamp, and you also be able to, join the job market to explore the job opportunities out there, right? So please, secure your slots now before, secure your slots now before, there won't be opportunity for you to pay in installments, because by the closer we get to the start date, we won't be able to take further installments, because last installment for this cohort must come in May, because it's just a 5 weeks bootcamp, right? So right now I'm going to bring on board our facilitator to tell us a little bit briefly about the bootcamp, about a career in compliance and all that, right? So he is a dual qualified solicitor. So for some of you that are thinking, oh, I still want to get qualified, we have a lot of people that are also qualified in the UK but still end up exploring a career in compliance over being a solicitor. So he's a dual qualified solicitor, qualified in Nigeria and the UK, and he's been a compliance professional for the past 12 years. He's worked in top financial institutions across the UK. Of course, he has lots of certifications, right? And he's the one that's been driving, all the success stories around compliance that we have seen. So, Lumi, if you're there, please. We can't wait to have you.
Okay, good afternoon all. Hope you guys can hear me. Thanks for the introduction, CEO. I'm glad to have you guys here. I'm happy to be part of this meeting. So I'm the facilitator for the compliance arm of things, and I'm very biased when it comes to compliance. I just believe it's the best industry to be in. There's the part of it that gives back to the society by helping to prevent money laundering, terrorist financing, and all that. And you also perform good customer service for your clients and shareholders. So compliance is very interesting. I can tell you how I broke into compliance. I think we might have a similar story. Hope you guys also achieve such a story. So I, maybe they call it Japa. I Japa a while ago. And, my first job was really giving me a lot of headache, and I was wondering, can't I get something better and all that? Of course, at that time we didn't have stuff like RKY and all the other ones. So I couldn't get the kind of job I wanted, and it was quite worrying because I was practicing as a lawyer in Nigeria and all that, and I felt, well, I should have some transferable skills whereby I should find myself in a white collar job and all that. But I ended up in a blue collar job. I was underemployed. I knew I could do a lot more, and it was really maybe almost depressing to say, because having qualified, done a master's and all that, and you end up doing all these low level jobs. doing cleaner here and there, doing security, doing Uber and all that. So it's quite frustrating, you know. So I would say it took me about 6 years to break into, 6-7 years to break into banking. It was quite a tough journey for me because I didn't have any support. Nobody told me what to do. Nobody told me this is how you do KYC or AML or GDPR and all that. I didn't even have an idea of what was going on. I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do, and I wasn't sure of what laws or what guidance I needed. So because of that, I didn't have a mentor, and that slowed down my own progress. And that's what we are trying to change here today for you guys. We are trying to make sure that what you take out of this program is something that is going to place you quickly into the area where you want to. Sometimes you even move around. Maybe you're a KYC person and you move to AML. And you might even move to GDPR. And it depends. You might even decide, oh, I'm moving to IT, you know, like business analyst in a KYC function. So what I want to say is that never give up. I never gave up. I found myself here today. And, you know, I didn't have the support. But now we have a way to give you the information you need because we've gone through this stuff before and we know exactly what it takes. What they didn't tell me then, I'll be able to tell you guys. Why I didn't know then, I'll be able to tell you guys. I'll be able to tell you guys what laws you need to study, what's the UK guidance, what's the regulator, just like the CEO touched on. Those are some of the things that if you don't know, why would somebody give you a job? Why would somebody pay you, you know, even 70,000 a year or 40,000 a year for if you don't know your environment? What I mean environment is that let's say you're in a law firm or banking or, you know, somewhere where they need a KYC analyst or AML analyst, and you don't know about JMLSG, then it's really going to be tough because you need to understand these things. It's a game. You are coming in like, you know, like James Bond. You need to be able to solve problems. So you need to come and say, oh, this is what I think on this. This client seems as if they have a suspicious relationship. Then what do you do? How do you draft the suspicious activity reports to the police and all that? KYC on the client. Now, if you think about all these things, they are very easy. I know you've heard about all these criminals. Some of them are politicians and all that. These are some of the things you'll be fighting against, okay? And I know that if you are looking at the operation of KYC as well, you all have a bank account. So you all are already inside the KYC game. It's just for you to come out on a different front. Like, okay, you were the client when you opened your bank account. Now, you are going to be part of the bank to open and maintain bank accounts for other people. So that's all it is. You are now trying to learn what they did to you then. And I'm sure they treated you well, and that's what it's supposed to be. A good compliance officer is someone that is thinking of the end game, which is to have a seamless service for their customers. Because if you annoy the customers because of your compliance officer in Barclays, it's just going to go to another bank, JP Morgan, Lloyds, Zenith, or something. So what we are here to do is to make sure that you're an all-rounder. You understand KYC, you know where to get your documentation, you know the website you should play around with and all that, where to get information. You also know how to investigate a client, how to identify red flags, what's suspicious in somebody's bank account and all that. You also be able to do GDPR, whereby you protect your firm from entering or from going into any of those, violating any of the GDPR laws and all that. And also, you'll be able to know sanctions. So you have AML, KYC, GDPR, and sanctions. I think that's a good, solid foundation for you to jump off from. And of course, we'll also teach you how to apply for jobs. So that's a good thing. You know, what are the sort of questions they will ask you and you prepare. And you also have every 2 weeks we have a QA session, so that, you know, if there are some questions you thought you missed during your initial training, then there's a QA section, which is like the continuation of the session. So like you're like part of RKY for life until you get your job. Some people get tired and say, okay, I've gotten my job, I don't need to attend again. That's fine. But if you decide to attend, it's like training continuing forever. So I don't know what kind of value you think that is, but I'll say it's a lot of value at a discount because you're not paying for that QA session. It's just part of the KYC, RKY KYC platform and all that. So as a group and all that, you also have the WhatsApp group where you discuss things like jobs, share jobs, discuss new things that are happening and all that. So so that's basically what it is, guys. I think it's the best program out there. I can assure you of that. What you will learn, you won't probably hear about a lot of those things anywhere else. A lot of the other guys are trying to teach KYC, but we've been there. We've done everything. So we've been in the market for a long time. We've gone through exactly what you've gone through. We've gone through the JAPA thing. We just want to get jobs, and your success is our success until you make it before we rest. Okay. So I hope that helps. And over back to the CEO.
Thanks, Professor. Thanks for that. I think it said it all, really. So I don't know if you guys have questions before I proceed. I think I have some in the chat box. When does it start? The next cohort starts May 11th, which is next Saturday, really, right? Next Saturday is 11, right? Yeah. So apart from the bootcamp, do we need any additional certification to break in? Lumi, I'll let you take that question.
So you don't need any other certification. The problem you have is that most of you are overqualified, and it's really very easy. So there are a lot of KYC, AML, GDPR, sanction experts there that don't have any certification. I have a lot of certifications, but there are a lot of my guys that don't have certifications. So some people have better jobs than I do, so you don't need certification at all.
Okay, so you don't need certification, to get your first job or to break into the career path. However, as a form of career progression, when you get in, because the thing is that a wide range of certifications you can do. There are also a lot of specification or specialization that is within that, and these courses are expensive, right? You don't want to spend a 3K on a specialization that you're not even sure, that's what you would pursue at the end of the day, right? So the advice is usually, get a practical-based bootcamp like us to get started, to get the practical work experience, which is prioritized over certifications and degrees, and then, proceed from there, right? Proceed from there to get the job, and then after that, you can also explore certification and all that. What's the success rates? I like that question. And the reason why I like that question, I won't give a percentage of the success rates, because success, is driven by not only what we would offer you, but also yourself. And because of that, we are unable to tell you, oh, we have 100% success rates. Our success rates, is determined by, first of all, what we will give you, which we are very confident. Everything we have said, we keep our words. If we say we'll train you for 5 weeks, we'll do interview prep, we'll do all this. Everywhere we say we'll be, you meet us there. You will do your CV, we'll do your LinkedIn, to get you interviews and all that. We would also do that. But don't forget that there's also a part that you need to play yourself. You need to play your part by making sure you attend all classes, you do your projects, you do your projects, do your assessments and all that. You also need to also apply to jobs, right? Apply to jobs and not give up. Do your interviews, prepare for your interviews, right? And all that, right? But if you play your parts and you also leverage the resources we've made available to you, success is, guaranteed, and to also add the fact that there are lots of things that also influence. There are a lot of things that influence hiring decisions that are beyond our control. For instance, people's visas, there are so many things really that are beyond you just having the skills, right? But what we know is that we're going to give you everything you need to be job ready to land your job. We're also going to provide guidance as much as possible, to also navigate other areas you might be struggling with. And that takes me to what I have on my screen right now, which is our physical events that we hold once a year. The one for this year is holding in London. It's called Limitless Without Borders. Like I said, I was explaining earlier briefly, that is also an avenue to expose you to other opportunities and other areas you can leverage your skills that you are gaining in. I was saying the story of somebody briefly, that also has a compliance background, but eventually got the global talents visa. That's a very rare one, right? So But what we are trying to do at this event is to expose you to other ways you can settle in the UK. So for a lot of people struggle with visa sponsorship, there are so many other things you can do to eventually, settle and be limitless, really not have any limits. Right. So we have about 5 or 6 global talents professionals, beneficiaries, right, who will be coming to this events to come and show us how they got there, how did they get it, really, because it's not only visa sponsorship that you can use to settle in the UK. There are other ways. There are innovator visas, there are global talents visas, and all that. Apart from that, we also have successful business owners, right? And also successful business owners who have run business successfully, for even over 20 years, in the UK, to come and show us what are the other areas. It's not only by applying to jobs. A lot of business owners that you see that have unicorn companies today were turned down by an employer at some point, right? But they still went on to be successful in life. And this is a space where probably there's limited information. A lot of people are not sharing, or a lot of people that are sharing, or I don't know really. But the thing is that we need necessary guidance, mentorship, networking, having the right contacts as well. We're also going to be having on that day, an immigration consultant that would expose us to other ways, other kind of visas we can explore. Have you guys heard about self-sponsorship before? If you've heard of it, if you've not heard of it, try to make it a date so you can learn more about other ways other people are doing it. How are other residents of other countries doing this thing that, we are not seeing them everywhere asking for, making posts about looking for sponsorship or whatever. Right. So if you are here to book for that event, it's just £10. It's a CSR. It's actually a free event. Because that £10 is just to make sure we have only committed people that would be there, that would not just secure a seat that will not be able to give to somebody else, right? So we want people that will secure seats and that will be there, right? So make sure you book your seats because we have limited seats. We can't even, all our alumni, we have over 1,000 alumni. We are not getting a 1,000 seater all, right? And all our, right? So, and we are also giving people beyond our alumni opportunities to also attend this, to come and leverage, these opportunities, right? So make sure that you register to attend. Admin, please drop the link to register in the chat box, right? To come and open up your mind about other ways of doing things, other ways of achieving. Also, we're going to be having our facilitator in the person of ALUNMI here as well, and other professionals as well. So he's going to also be speaking at that event. So please make sure you make it a date, in this country that we are. Of course, we were not born here, right? But in this country there are so many ways as well we can also flourish without any limits. Not being born here should not be a limit, right? So come and learn how to be limitless without borders. So the link to book for this event, right, is on the screen, but it would also be pasted in the chat box. I don't know if it's already been pasted, but please make sure that you book. It's happening in London this year. People have already booked from Manchester, from Hull. So if you are even in the environs, you don't have any excuse. If you're outside as well, try to make sure that you try to make sure you attend. It's going to be in summer. You don't have any excuse. There's going to be no snow keeping you away, or winter, or cold, or whatever. So even if it's just to come and eat the refreshments we will have for you that day, make sure that you make it a date, right? Because at least we all go out for one day, right? Where we are not even gaining much apart from, going to just enjoy ourselves. So even if it's just to enjoy yourself, there's going to be a lot of enjoyment that day as well. So please, let's click on the link. It's happening on the 15th of June at University of East London in Stratford. If you go to our page as well, you would have seen we've started unveiling. We have over 10 speakers. We started unveiling our speakers one after the other. We still have lots more. So make sure that you make it a date. It's not an event you want to miss. There's been no other like it. Right. So I think I've answered all the questions. I don't know. Do we have any more questions about anything we've talked about today? About compliance, about the bootcamp, and all that? And even the events, anything at all that you want to ask about before we call it a day. It's been such a fantastic session with you all. No question at all. Lumi, you've been a fantastic facilitator. Everything you said was clear. I'm sure I'm also fantastic, right? Everything I said, everybody understands. Right. So I am looking forward to seeing you guys at the other side in class next week, as well as at the physical events we'll be having in London as well. Yes, you are. See you. Thanks, Joyce, for confirming that. So see you. Oh, Monsura says I said I did a good job, rookie. Thanks and thanks. I look forward to seeing you guys physically in London, June 15th, and I also look forward to seeing you in class next week. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks, Lumi, and thanks for gracing the session as well with your presence. Thanks everyone for attending. For the June quotes, will the payments be more flexible? So I said it earlier that we're going to have another quote early July, not actually June. Yes, you have a more flexible payments. However, that's if you start paying early. The earlier you start paying, the more flexible it's going to get. So if you want to register for the next cohort, start paying now so you can pay in 3 installments: May, June, July. Right, 3 installments. If you don't pay in May, you start paying in June, you have only 2 installments. If you don't pay in June, you want to pay in July, you pay only once. I think that's just fair enough, right? Last question, is age a factor? Thanks for that question. Age is never a factor. We have a lot of people who are in their 50s. I'm sure you know that because you see the people that are the age range of people relocating now. They are mid-level professionals or even senior level professionals, right? And they are still landing their desired route, transitioning to new career paths. The good thing about this part, I know that back in Nigeria, right, if you lose a job at 40, it's more like you might not even get a job again. But here in the UK, you can decide to even leave your job at 50 and transition to a new career path and still get even an entry level role for that because the thing is about what you are bringing to the table. What that previous experience you have in your previous career path is also valuable. It will also come in handy, right, in this new role as well. So yes, thanks guys. Thanks for making it a date to this session. See you in class next week. Cheers.